Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my live video call. And tonight we are going to be discussing about our medical rights as patients. My name is Chad Allen. I am a master's prepared registered nurse in the specialty of nursing informatics. We deal with a lot of the EHR type stuff and analytics, etc. So, uh, the topic tonight is really going to be about your rights as patients, and that you should really be well informed of those rights so that you are not taken for the loop, as some will typically say. So, if you will find value out of this video, please share it with your friends and family. It would be deeply appreciated. Also, you can definitely like my Facebook page at facebook.com/Team Chad Allen. You can also go to my YouTube page and like my YouTube as well. There, I carry the live feed there as well. And also on my website, chadallen.net, CHADALLAN.net. So let's go ahead and get started. So a couple days ago, I was watching a video about your patients' rights, medical patients' rights, and the person referenced the hospital associations, the American Hospital Association's Patients' Bill of Rights, and in that, and number 6 of the Patient Bill of Rights, it states that you as a patient have the right to refuse treatment, and then at the same time, if you refuse that primary treatment, that the doctors in the hospital is required to give you alternate types of treatment options. So it becomes very relevant in today's society because we're talking about COVID-19, we're talking about wearing masks, we're talking about forced vaccinations that are coming, especially here in Virginia. There's a lot of desire to have forced vaccinations, and so there's a lot of issues going on. A lot of stuff is at stake. So when I watched this particular video, I was really intrigued by it, and I did a little bit more study and a little bit more looking into it, because I don't really take. You really should not be taking anything uh, for verbatim. So you really need to study it and really see for what it is. And so the person, when they discussed the AHA Patient Bill of Rights, they are correct. They're very, very correct when they say that you have the right to refuse treatments that are the primary treatments, and they have to give you a an alternative treatment for that, right? But what is left out of that is this: that you can refuse treatment, law permitting. So it really reads as this: so the patient has the right to make decisions about the plan of care prior to and during the course of treatment, and to refuse recommended treatment or plan of care to the extent permitted by law and hospital policy. And it goes on and stuff like that. Okay, and it tells you that they have to give you an alternate form. So I'm not a lawyer, so if I may be wrong on my interpretation of this particular uh, patient's bill of rights, that yes, you can refuse. Yes, you can choose alternate treatment plans if you so desire. However, the way I also read it is that if the law at that particular time says that you have to have this particular treatment or this particular vaccine and it's mandated, then the hospital cannot and the doctor cannot uh, allow you, the patient, to not get that particular treatment or vaccine. They have to give it to you because the law says it has to be done. Because if you have the right to refuse, then it would just say outright refuse, right? So, but this says refuse a recommended treatment or plan of care to the extent permitted by law. Permitted by law. So, what's permitted by law? So, with these forced vaccinations that are really coming down the pipeline, and let's say the Virginia healthcare person says, "Hey, you have to do this," or the governor says you have to get this vaccine, then if you're in a hospital, they have to follow that particular rule where they have to give it to you. You can't leave the hospital. That's how I read it. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, and if I am, that is great. But just by the wording, it doesn't seem like that is really the absolute case according to that. Now, there are other laws, other acts and stuff like that that do correspond to freedoms of the individual. Now, when we look at the AHA Patient Bill of Rights, it's not technically not law. It's a guide for hospitals to follow. So even though, then that's, and I believe that is why they put in there to the extent permitted by law and hospital policy, because it's not really a law stating that that you have the right to refuse. It's good practice for them to allow you to refuse treatment and to choose alternate forms of treatment, but it's not law binding in any way. So, we'll just see what happens. Hopefully, in this particular case, it just means that, even if there is a quote unquote law out there saying that you have to be vaccinated, or a quote unquote law stating that you have to have a particular test given or a particular treatment given, that it doesn't really pertain to this. So, why is it important to know your medical rights as an individual? So, this is one of the reasons why you really need to know your rights as an individual. Because if you don't know your rights, number one, if you don't know your rights as to your medical rights, then the doctors or the governments or whatever, they can give you any kind of treatment that they want without your knowledge, without you, even if you refuse, they can still give it to you regardless of your opposition to it. So, if you know your right, if you know your medical rights, if you know about certain things, let's say you know a little bit about the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Let's say you know a little bit about the ACA Patients Bill of Rights, which has to do about billing and about getting treatment initially, or the AHA Patient Bill of Rights, which has to do while you're in the hospital, that kind of setting. Then, if you're well informed about these things, then you will be able to stop the kind of treatments that you're not wanting. So, if a cancer patient does not want chemo, then it is their right to choose to not have chemo if they so choose. If they want to go on more a natural route, that's their call. They can do that if they so choose, or they want to have a combination chemo and natural. Yeah, it's totally their call. So they can do that because it's their right as a patient. So, number two, reason why you need to know your medical rights as a patient It's because that you're able to be well informed. So, in other words, when you are uh, learning about the procedures and stuff like that that are coming to you, then you're more able to act upon those because you have a wealth of knowledge, and so you can make a more educated decision pertaining to that particular the procedure. Now, so number three, you're definitely are able to have a more educated decision making. So, but let's go ahead and go now. Let's move on to the next part where we talk about the masks and we talk about other types of things that are taking place. For example, you're walking into a store, you're going to buy groceries and whatnot. Uh, does that store actually have the right to refuse you any kind of entry? So do they have that kind of right to do that? So we're going to talk about that in just a second. So you can go to my blog at chadallan.net, CHADALLAN.net, and you can get my freebies there. I got two freebies. One is the Ultimate Health Survival Guide, which I talk about the power of immune messengers, and you can get that. You go when you go to the homepage, you click on the banner, and there you go. You can fill out your information and get that. The other one, if you scroll down a little bit more, or you go to one of the blog posts, especially the blog post that this particular video is associated with, then on the right side, along the right side, there is a place called the 5 reasons why owning a home-based business is a hedge against economic uncertainty, because there's a lot of economic uncertainty that's taking place, especially because of the COVID-19. So it's good to see that the economy is coming up, that the stock market is coming back up, but there's no guarantee that it's going to stay there. So you really need to make sure that you have all of your bases covered well, and so you can get that particular ebook, and it will really share a lot with you of what I've learned as a business owner along the way. So let's talk about the 1964 Act of the Civil Rights Act. So does a store, if you don't wear a mask, do they have the right to deny you entry into their store? So it doesn't matter if it's like Costco or Walmart or some other restaurant or whatever it is. If they are serving food, if they're providing goods, the 1964 Civil Rights Act specifically states that they cannot discriminate against you or anyone else based on sexual orientation, based on color of the skin, based on whatever. So when they are even if there is an edict, a governor edict, like the executive order stating that you have to wear a mask while you're indoors, the 1964 Act says that cannot happen because you are basically discriminating against that person. So, but if you want to wear a mask, that's totally up to you. It's completely your call to do just that. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's also your call, and you cannot be discriminated against because of that. So now you can find the website that I've referenced this all from on my blog post at chadallan.net. And so if you want to go straight to the blog post, it's chadallan.net, CHADALLAN.net /blog, BLOG. And it will definitely get you there to that particular one, and it's at the very top of the page because it was just published today. So what does all this mean? So what does it mean? Because you have to know your medical rights as an individual. You should definitely know about the um, American Hospital Association's Patient Bill of Rights and how it protects you while you're in the hospital. You should definitely know the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and how no business or government facility or whatever can discriminate against you because you're not wearing a mask. If you're wearing a mask, if you don't wear a mask, you cannot be discriminated against. Uh, and that's based on the sexual creed, orientation, all this other stuff, the color of your skin, that kind of thing. You can't be discriminated against. And you should know a little bit about the Affordable Care Act's Patient Bill of Rights as well, which has to do more with insurances that you're saying that you cannot be denied treatment, because if you were to go into the hospital and you were not wearing a mask, the hospital cannot, or a doctor's office, they cannot deny you treatment. They can't do it. They cannot deny you treatment. So it's your choice. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I mean, it's totally your choice. But you need to know these particular rules and laws that are in place, and how they contradict also the governor's executive orders, and how also they will be pretty much contradicting any edict, any executive orders, whatever that's gonna demand and mandate vaccines to anybody, whether it's the COVID-19 I'm talking about vaccine, where they are making stating that they're going to force the COVID-19 vaccine on everybody. Well, guess what? They can't do that because you have the right to refuse treatment. You cannot be denied treatment if you don't get the vaccine. So know your rights and be well informed about them, because when this stuff comes down the pipeline, you need to be ready and you need to be well guarded. And if you have to go to court, you got to go to court. But your rights are important, and you must fight for them, especially the medical freedom. If you allow others, such as government, to dictate to you what medical treatment you are to receive, then that same entity, government, doctor, whatever, you're also giving them the full right to dictate if you have the right to live as an individual, as a person on this earth. So that is very, very important, and you really need to know that if you give consent for medical treatment, and that medical treatment is based on what the government tells you that you have to have, or a doctor, whatever, you're also giving that same entity the right to choose whether or not you have the right to live. So be very careful about how you are, how you're going to allow others to give you medical treatment. Now, I'm not saying that you don't go get medical treatment from the doctors. I'm not saying that at all. When you need a doctor, you need to go to a doctor. When you need to do certain things, you need to do it. But if you're giving that same consent, especially to government, yeah, you need to be very careful about that. So this is my hot tip to you, because I really want you to be well informed. And just remember, know your medical rights as an individual so that you are able to stand firm and make well-educated decisions when it comes time for that. So I want to thank you for being on the live video call tonight. Like always, go to chadallan.net, CHADALLAN.net, and you can also get my free health guide at chadallan.net/freebie. And you can also get my free home-based business guide at chadallan.net/5- reasons. REASONS. So I want to. Okay, well, you guys have a beautiful, beautiful night. We will talk to you Wednesday because Wednesday is it's Weight Loss Wednesday, and then Friday is typically about current events or about business. So Friday tends to be more of an open line type deal, open Friday type, and Wednesday's Weight Loss Wednesday, and Monday is always healthy tips. So today's healthy tip was all about knowing your medical rights as an individual. So I thank you for being on here today. We will see you on Wednesday at 8 p.m. the same time. Take care. Bye-bye.